Hello, everyone. Michael Jordan fans are the best. And today we're going to be having a debate for the MJFB Summer Debate League between longtime panelists Nick and Hoop God, where Nick will be representing Larry Bird and Hoop God Kobe Bryant. Before we get into it, though, how are you gentlemen doing today, Nick
Doing good. Thanks for having me as always.
and Hoop God?
Man, I'm doing great, man.
All right. Well, let's get right into it. Nick is elected to go first. He had the decision because he had a higher subscriber count, and he will be presenting his argument after this 10-second primer that is on the screen right now. Are you gentlemen ready?
Yeah,
Let's do it.
I was gonna say if I tend to go over, you can give like part of my time to Nick, like just to be fair, because I know when we tend to like go into our soliloquies, we may exceed the 3 minute mark.
Yeah, it's we're just rolling right through it. We're cutting it off. So
Okay, okay,
anyway,
cool.
are you ready, Nick?
Let's go.
All right. After the 10-second primer, you'll begin.
3, 2, 1.
All right. These are as usual, right? We're arguing on the fringes here. I think we both have these players in our top four. So again, we're kind of arguing very, very much on the fringes, correct? So I'm gonna start this debate like I started the Wilt Chamberlain Steph Curry debate, not to repeat myself or be a dead horse, but as Bob Costas famously said in Larry Bird's retirement speech, Larry Bird is only one of a very few select players who excelled in every facet of the game. Correct? And with that also being said, I also want to say that, subjectively to me, my opinion, if I take away all the stats, if I take away all the awards, the trophies, the accolades, and I'm just watching the game of basketball, it's just my own subjective eye test. Larry Bird is my GOAT, right? I think personally to me, I think he has played the game better than anyone else, right? That being said, you guys know I put MJ as the GOAT. I think he has the objectively the best resume and argument and things that he achieved to take that one spot, right? But just in my opinion, right? I think Larry Bird played the game at the highest level in all aspects of it than anyone else that I've seen for my money or anything like that, right? So I also want to get my that out of the way in terms of my bias, right? And this sort of how I see Larry Bird, how high I think of Larry Bird, right? And I'll get into why, of course. Um, but again, we look at Larry Bird and we'll go through the stats as usual, right? But Larry Bird with the intangibles and all the other things just outside of what you just kind of would think of in basketball, right? Like I said, throw away all the trophies away and the stats and just what is it about Larry, right? And to me, it's largely the intangibles, right? The cerebral awareness, the quick decision making. Again, the famous thing when people said that he was playing chess and everyone was playing checkers. I know that that's a euphemism that a lot of people use a lot, but they were serious when they said it, right? He was always a step ahead, whether it be mentally or actually within the game of basketball, right? Diving for loose balls that even he knew he probably wouldn't get to, but he did it like a crazed dog because that's just what he did. And whether he knew what he was going to do when he got to it, like when a dog actually catches up to a car, who knows, right? But Larry Bird did everything that you could ever ask a player to do. And I'll leave it with what MJ said to kind of drive my point home. Larry Bird is the greatest trash talker and mind game player of all time. He taught me everything I know about getting in folks' head.
Three,
And even Red Auerbach
two,
said that he was the
one.
greatest player to ever put on a uniform.
So yeah, as Nick said, I have to echo those sentiments. Like we're pretty much arguing the guys we got in our top four for this conversation. So yeah, it's kind of like there are going to be some similarities, but there are going to be some differences. So I want to start out with the statement that he said about Bob Costas. I actually agree with that 1,000%. I do feel like Larry Bird is the greatest all-around player ever. When you say a guy that's good to great in just about every single facet of the game. Now, Where I would differ when I'm speaking on Kobe Bryant now, because again, I have him 2 and I have Bird 4, is not Bird, but Kobe has the elite two-way ability, right? When I mean offensively and defensively. So I'm going to start with the defense because that's what I'm biased to, to a certain degree. When you have a guy that can pick you up 94 feet, I mean, suffocating you, like making you over dribble, getting you out of your timing and your rhythm, just causing all type of disruption and chaos within the opponent's offensive structure. That's when I'm looking at Kobe Bryant. Prime example, when Coach K said Kobe Bryant came to him before the '08 trials and said, hey, I want to guard the other player's best perimeter player. And he told him, I'm going to destroy him. Like that mentality right there, that is what I want. And I know Bird does exude a lot of those qualities. But when I see a guy like just a one-possession defender, that's Kobe Bryant. Like, I know for this particular play, he's either going to get a stop, he's going to get a steal, a deflection. He's going to do something to prevent a shot being made in this very moment. So then I'm going to transition also into the offense. So because I do feel like they both have similarities in their offensive game. Now, where they differ, I think we all know Bird is more efficient. Not even going to argue that. Scoring wise, I'm going to give the edge slightly to Kobe only because the approach and the system he played in allowed him to do that. Now, can Bird, am I saying that he can't do that? No, I'm not. Because Bird has an abundance of 40-point games, and it'd be extremely disingenuous to say that he couldn't do it. But when I see Kobe Bryant have those epic games where when he gets hot from the field, I can see a guy shooting from the mid-range that reminds me of Michael Jordan, but when he's shooting from 3, it reminds me of Klay Thompson. I mean, the guy is like, he can get ignited. I mean, he's just, everything he throws up, it goes in. Now, being objective, I can say there are times that he took bad shots. I'm well aware of that. I won't even try to get away from it. But all in all, for Kobe Bryant to be the all-time leading scorer amongst all guards, okay, that's phenomenal to me because there's only one other player in that top 5 of all-time scoring that's made 9 total all-defensive first teams, that being Michael Jordan. I know like the accumulatives have kind of gotten away from us, seeing that a certain fan base likes to skew them. But the most important point I'm making is if you're going to be that dynamic of a scorer, well, I need to see your effort on the defensive side as well. And not to mention, Kobe Bryant is one of 2 players to win multiple championships with the
Yeah, I agree with most of that. The elite two-way ability, I think Bird gets a little bit, again, I think because he wasn't the most athletic, which again, I think is an overhyped talking point about him. Again, he's still 6'9" and can move, right? Like that, guys like that are still rare, right? No matter how you want to slice and dice that, right? But, I do think that probably on the defensive end, you got to give Kobe with the perimeter clamps, right? When he really wanted to, and he did for most of his career, right? In terms of that elite two-way ability, I see what you're saying there. I won't push too much against that. But again, I think Bird is no slouch on the defensive end, right? He made some all defensive teams, obviously a better rebounder. And just to get to the stats real quick, except for points per game, right? Which again, Kobe, I know we don't have to get into the whole stat thing and dive so deep, but besides the points per game in which Kobe ekes him out by like a point, I think you kind of ceded a little ground that across the board, Bird is just a better average, better efficiency at almost everything, right? He's almost a 5% better shooter across the board too. 3-pointers, 2-point field goals. Field goal percentage and free throw percentage as well, right? And so again, I think in terms of what maybe Kobe did a little better than Bird in terms of being a relentless attacking scorer, right? Which I think Kobe would probably be better than that at Bird in terms of that specific connotation, right? Bird's right behind him, and in my opinion, he's better across the board at almost everything, right? So I'll just leave that for the stats, right? And the one thing, right, I know I kind of went into why I love Larry Bird so much, but if I had to say it on one thing, right, when I saw Larry play, what was it, right? I don't know if it's ever going to be possible to get this stat, but I know we have something like a PER. I would like to see if there is some kind of PER for the time the ball was actually in your hands, right? The most mesmerizing thing to me about Larry Bird has been, I kind of mentioned quick decision-making and being a step ahead, right? But it's that he can control an offense, be the focal point of an offense, and draw tons of attention from the defense, and he only touches the ball for 3 seconds or less in a possession, right? To me, that has always been the most fascinating thing about watching Larry Bird, is that truly can run an offense and command everyone's attention on the floor. And whether he has the ball or not, right? Even though the ball has not been received yet, he's already beaten you, right? He's already gotten you to where he wants you to be and where he wants to be.
Oh yes, let me clarify my statements on Larry Bird as well. No, I agree with everything you said, Nick. No, Bird is definitely not a slouch defensively, because a lot of people don't even know that he made 3 all-defensive second teams and led the league in defensive win shares 4 times. I actually found that out from Skip Bayless. But no, I want to get to some of the common misconceptions, and this is not to you per se. This is just what I see with a lot of people on the internet, that he was inefficient, that he was selfish, that he was he was hard and difficult to play with or whatever, right? So I want to clear that up to these people that I've had to constantly regurgitate this to time and time again. His field goal percentage to me is just very misleading. The reason why: his true shooting is 55%, right? That's on par with Tim Duncan. We know where Tim Duncan took the majority of his shots: in the paint, low post, and mid-range. And for a 2 guard to have the same true shooting as a power forward or front court player, that's pretty remarkable to me. Then his effective field goal percentage was actually 48%. So I want to get away from like finishing at the rim, because I think that's a given. But when you get to the low post, right, very efficient. Mid-range, very efficient. The isolation scoring from the elbow, albeit turnaround jumper or the face-up game, efficient. Even at the free throw line, efficient. Now, granted, he's not on Bird's level of efficiency from the free throw line. I'm not even going to try to make that argument. But when I'm talking to other people, like, I have to actually provide these facts, and it's like, why should I even have to do this, right? Because it's common knowledge. And then there's another one that they love to run with: Kobe Bryant was selfish. And I ask them this all the time: how can the guy be selfish when he led his team in assists in all 4 title runs with Shaq and Pau Gasol? Not to mention, in that 2009 run, he joined Michael Jordan at that time as being the only players to average over 30 in a final series win, and also accumulate at least 7 or more assists per game in concert with about 5 rebounds. Now, the reason why that's so significant to me is because the great Nikola Jokic joined them in 2023. So you only have 3 guys in that list, and 2 of them are guards. Okay, so that's where I have to debunk that narrative. Then there's another one about him being a difficult team to play with, or whatever they want to try to categorize it. But I would always ask, if he's so difficult to play with or whatever, or for whatever reason, it's like Kobe said this, he's on record: if I don't trust your work ethic, I'm not going to trust you in a big game. So that made all the sense in the world to me. You're coming in 5 minutes before practice and you're leaving right when practice is over. No, I wouldn't trust a guy like that neither. But then they also said that he wasn't easy to play with. Well, I find that very hard to believe, that Pau Gasol never shot 52% from the field until his tenure with the Lakers. He never shot even better than that when he left and played for the Spurs, when he played for the Bulls, and before he even got to the Lakers, he still wasn't shooting 50% from the field. So when people say that, it's like, have you even done your research?
Yeah, definitely. I think people kind of they misconstrue the hard ass approach as not being a good leader. And just because you're demanding in a hard ass way, that doesn't mean you're not a good leader. That's kind of like some of the things they say about Michael too, which I never bought into. And one thing I don't do on a lot with players, right, is kind of like the off the court stuff. But obviously we're going to talk about legacy here. And one thing like Dart likes to do is the difference between best and greatest, right?
Yeah.
So in my opinion, right, also one thing that puts Larry over the top for a lot of other players compared to him, right, is the mythos, is the story, is, the Larry Bird stories. It is a thing in terms of what this man did night in and night out on the court, and the bravado, the confidence, the telling the ball boy to go find what the home record scoring was, right?
Yeah.
Because much like you read about Jordan would find articles for motivation and all these things. Larry Bird was much like that. And that's why I brought that quote up in terms of Michael Jordan saying, in terms of a mind game player, he's the greatest to ever do it, right? And you think about his story, right? He came from nothing, literally came, dirt poor, one of the most impoverished areas in Indiana, goes to Indiana, right? The Hoosiers dream, his dad commits suicide. He comes home. He goes back to Indiana State, right? This little hometown feel, something that fit him a lot more. He takes them to the highest rated NCAA championship game of all time still, and goes toe-to-toe with the juggernaut Spartans, right? Becomes, the cover of Sports Illustrated, right? He just, the mythos of Larry Bird, and kind of get into the legacy, right? And unfortunately for Kobe, one of the sad and unfortunate things is that he kind of will always be in the shadow of Michael Jordan. Not so much that he didn't carve his own legacy, but he just modeled himself and he just reminded us so much of Jordan, right?
Mhm.
And it kind of works for him at times, and it also works against him at times. And unfortunately, because of that, to kind of say that for people who might say Kobe changed the game, I don't really buy into that, right? I think he kind of has this curse of being the closest thing we've seen to Jordan in terms of style and bravado since MJ, right? And unfortunately, he just never had the ability, whether right or wrong, to kind of do his own thing. Larry Bird, in terms of what he did and changed the small forward position, again, the mythos of where he came from, Larry Bird rights, the way they negotiate salaries, the Larry Bird stories, the being cutthroat and being absolutely ice cold water when it came down to it. I think Larry Bird mythos also supersedes Kobe's in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and I mean, and all those things, I would agree 1,000%. Yeah, the mythos, because I mean, in order for you to be up in that top tier, you have to have a little bit of mythology, to your name in so many words. But I would like to speak on Kobe's influence on the game, but like you said, the off court, right? Prime example, the Mamba Academy. So when you look at the likes of Sabrina Ionescu, you look at Candace Parker, you look at Diana Taurasi, and several other of the greats in the WNBA. Well, who did they seek out to improve their game? They sought out Kobe Bryant, right? Then let's get to the NBA guys. I mean, there's a plethora of them. You look at the likes of Jamal Murray, Kyrie Irving. You look at Kawhi Leonard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jason Tatum. That's no coincidence. They all became champions and they all trained at the Mamba Academy. But then you look at guys like Devin Booker and also Luka Doncic. Now, they took their game to another level and eventually got to the finals. I mean, but unfortunately, they lost to another fellow student that went to that Mamba Academy. So I would look at those aspects, right? And then you look at Kobe Bryant when he retired, where he found a new passion. What was that? Writing, Dear Basketball. And he subsequently wins an Oscar. But yes, Kobe, what I do appreciate about Kobe is even on The Last Dance, even he said it. He was like, I wouldn't have those 5 championships if it wasn't for the great Michael Jordan. No, not to digress. And when he named his top 5, he said Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Hakeem Olajuwon, and I believe Wilt Chamberlain, if I'm not mistaken, or Bill Russell. It was one of those 2. But to me, that showed that he paid homage, to the guys that came before him, saying that he does not belong to be in that class with those guys, which that has always been the tradition, until here of late when we've had these entitled beta males in the NBA, wanting to be given things instead of earning it. So I wanted to speak on that aspect of Kobe because you can even see it to this day. Like, look at Anthony Davis when he hit the shot and against the Nuggets in the bubble. What did he say? He yelled Kobe. I mean, even when you shoot the ball or shoot a paper ball into the trash can, right? You're going to say Jordan or you're going to say Kobe. So that's that off-court influence that I think he set a standard that just it just galvanized like an entire generation of people. And even when you look at some of his old clips and you look at how he can break down the game. I mean, prime example, Detail, the mind of Kobe Bryant, which is what Mind the Game, they tried to steal from him, what a lot of people don't realize. It. He is giving you intricate information about the game of basketball that the regular person just can't even understand. And I mean, he makes it sound so easy and so simplistic that it's like, wow, like if you just take the time and appreciate this sport for what it is, it's like, how could you not appreciate what this man has done per se, right? And again, I'm speaking to the guys who try to downplay Kobe and poo-poo him to a certain extent. Like, to me, it's solidified.
All true, yeah. And also I kind of mentioned the mythos in a little bit, and I kind of wanted to roll that into kind of another one of the reasons why Bird is so high for me, right? And a big thing for me, and I think most people who watch us, talk agree, is peaks and primes, right? Like how good was your good, correct?
Yeah.
And for me, in my opinion, Jordan's had the best run in terms of those 2 3-peats. And of course, all the things he achieved before that too. But in terms of like, and that reminds me, I do want to say the way I remember Kobe is he was the last dog, right? I wish we
Yeah.
could do
Yeah.
almost some kind of funny sci-fi basketball movie where he's like the last good, last dog in the NBA, right?
Yeah.
And before the whole banana boat culture, right? Like Kobe was the last, in my opinion. He didn't really care about being liked. He just wanted to freaking win, man. Like, and he was the last dog. Like, I think that's my nickname for Kobe when I think about him.
Actually, Coach K said that. Ironically, Coach K did say that.
Yeah, he was the last dog, man. But going back to Bird, right? I think Bird's prime, right? Remember, for his career, right? Bird is essentially like 2 or 3 percentage points from averaging a 50-40-90 for his career, right?
Yeah.
And Bird's prime, and again, I kind of mentioned it. The one thing for me with Bird is just his gravitas with or without the ball and knowing what was happening, and because of that, it's like he put you where he wanted you to be, right?
Yeah.
And if the ball came to him, he could score a pass or what have you in the blink of an eye, right? And it was already done. He was just so efficient with his production and the way he got guys involved, right? But look, Bird is one of 3 players to ever win 3 straight MVPs, correct, at his prime. And you think about the 50-40-90, you think about the 3 straight MVPs, and he had to, in his time, go obviously before the hard salary cap, right? Him and the Lakers. But a lot of people don't understand that the East was absolutely stacked compared to the West for the most part at that time, right?
Yeah.
Pistons, Knicks, Sixers, right? There was just an absolute bloodbath, in my opinion, in the East compared to the West at the time. I think a lot of people forget that, correct? And just it's kind of funny because when you look at Bird got hurt in 85, right? When he built his mom's driveway, which is still one of the greatest tragedies the NBA has ever seen, right?
Yeah.
To think he won 3 straight MVPs, like in the middle of hurting his back, right? We could have had so much more good memories of Bird as well.
Right. So I'll follow up on what you were saying about how Bird could pretty much put you where he wanted you. Right now, that is something I believe Kobe Bryant has echoed, that he learned from Larry Bird. Just being a student of the game and picking his brain. And I feel like both those guys are masters of the triple threat. Especially in that pull-up mid-range, I won't even argue Bird is far more efficient. I mean, where he shoots the ball behind his head, you're not going to impede him, whereas Kobe would take that shot, with 2 or 3 guys, flanked on him. But I mean, hey, if he's the best option with 2 people guarding him versus this guy over here wide open that is scared to shoot, you can see it in his eyes. I mean, I'll live and die with that. But on the 50-40-90, I actually found this out about 2 days before we had this dialogue. And if you combine 2009, 2010, Kobe Bryant's Western Conference Finals, he actually shot 50-40-90, granted in that small sample size. But it kind of like, oh, wow, I didn't even know this, until I looked it up, verified it. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I'm not saying Kobe could do that for a career. No, absolutely, he could not. But for him to do that in the Western Conference Finals, granted, I feel like, that's like a little bit of a segue into, okay, well, hey, maybe if he's playing with a Dwayne Wade and a Ray Allen, he might have some better shot opportunities. But, I won't put too much into that. My next point is with the accolades. Now, I look at it like this. The accolades are very impressive. I do feel like, they do carry a certain amount of weight. But at the same time, when I look at somebody like Steve Nash, right, he has 2 MVPs. Jason Kidd has none. Well, I feel like Jason Kidd is a better overall player. When I look at Shaquille O'Neal, who has 1 MVP, Jokic has 3. But right now, I don't think I'm going to put Jokic over Shaq quite yet. Jokic, granted, his career isn't over, but I don't think I'm ready for that combo. But then I look at Giannis Antetokounmpo. He has 2 MVPs. Tim Duncan has 2 MVPs, but Tim Duncan won his back-to-back. I'm not putting Jokic up in the class with not Jokic, but Giannis in the class with Tim Duncan. So when I see Kobe having that 1 MVP, Nash having 2 back-to-back, it's kind of like, okay, he did earn that 1, but I don't think he really earned that 2nd one, because they had other guys, even a guy in Cleveland that had better numbers, that I'm not going to say his name. So yeah, the MVPs are great. Don't get me wrong, but if I see that, hey, there's somebody else that could have possibly won that, then I would take that into the equation. But I wanted to also speak on some of Kobe Bryant's peers and how they spoke about him, like the likes of Tony Allen, Tayshaun Prince, Shane Battier, Ron Artest, Trevor Ariza, Andre Iguodala. They all like unanimously said, when Kobe's coming off that pick and roll, we could not let him shoot wide open. And you can't play cushion defense because he's going to hit that shot. If you overplay, he's still going to use that impeccable footwork to get his shot. The only thing we could hope for is that he would just miss the shot.
Yeah, so I'm going to end my last segment with a little bit of a childhood story, right? So growing up, obviously we're talking about the 90s, right? There was MJ, obviously, was the legend of the time. But my favorite player was Magic Johnson, right? This was kind of before I really started to delve into the game, right? But in my opinion, a 6'9" point guard was something I just couldn't wrap my head around as a kid. Just all I knew was playing the game, right? A 6'9" point guard just seemed crazy at the time, right?
Yeah.
And so, I get a little older, high school, college, YouTube rolls around. And the thing is that my dad was a massive Larry Bird fan. He always hated, he thought it was blasphemy that I thought Magic was better. And he'd just say, I don't know, right? And I remember growing up and getting older, and you really start to go down the rabbit hole of NBA history, and we all kind of learn as we do in our own way. But I remember coming across Larry Bird, and I was like, all right, here we go. I'm gonna go down the rabbit hole and see what this is. And at the end of it, I called my dad and I said I was sorry for causing so much blasphemy in his house, right? And that is just to reiterate, right? When I close my eyes and I think about how the game is supposed to be played, and I think about both the mental aspect, the skill set, the bravado, the confidence, playing with the chip on your shoulder. When the time came, you didn't just shy away. You talk smack while stepping into the biggest moments of the game, right? The steal against Detroit, what some call maybe the greatest play ever, catching your own rebound, running off, on the right side, scooping it back underneath the backboard with your left hand with the most finesse and touch you thought you've ever seen in your life, right? The behind the backboard shots, the fights, the Dr. J picture, right? You just think about the game and you think about what it means to just just engulf yourself in the game of basketball, both mentally and leaving it all out on the court, right? And in my opinion, Larry just was that guy. Like he had the mentality of bring your lunch pail to work because it's going to be an all-day thing. And he looked the part of like a blue-collar guy who would do that. And when he stepped on the court, he was just a wizard. And I don't know, we could sit here and talk stats all day, right? But again, I think the one thing I said is watching Larry play and the way he made decisions, how fast he made them, the way he could control a game without even needing the ball in his hand, right? It's just, to me, I cannot put into words other than just watching the game of how much I think Larry Bird is simply the greatest of all time in my subjective opinion.
Agreed. And so for my final case for Kobe Bryant, I wanted to also bring to the table that I know a lot of people know this, but yes, he beat the most 50-win teams in his postseason run, into winning a championship. And granted, 80% of those guys won 50 games, which to me is just like, it's just mind blowing that, when you look at his path to the championship, unlike some guy that played in the Eastern Conference from 2003 to 2018, Kobe literally ran the gauntlet. It puts me in it makes me think about 300 when Leonidas is like, the Spartans, what is your profession? Like I see Kobe, in that light, so I would have to bring that light. It's crazy to have to battle through all those monsters and then get to the finals. And then you still, have to show up and be there for your team, in which I want to go into the 2009 and 2010 title run. Now, keep in mind that Kobe had just came off of that 2008 Olympic run when Team USA kept getting the bronze medal because they did not have the alpha that they needed, thanks to Coach K going out and getting him, and Jerry Colangelo and Nate McMillan, don't let me forget, because I think he was the one that reached out to Kobe after he had that 81-point game back in 2006. Now, coming back to his 2009, 2010 title runs, he defeated, I believe, the most 50 wins teams in that run versus any other all-time great in that short span. And then taking down the 2009 Orlando Magic when the world wanted to see LeBron James and Kobe Bryant, but unfortunately, he couldn't show up. So that is one of my favorite Kobe Bryant finals because he showed that he could not only lead his team to a championship without Shaq, but he could be surgical on the floor. I mean, like his decision-making was like by far and away better than anything number 8. I think when he switched to 24, he hit that basketball nirvana. What do I mean by that? It's when the physical abilities link up with the physical and the mental. It's like you have your mental prime and you have your physical prime. It's like they boom, and it's like you got about a 3, maybe 4-year time period to do what? To dominate and assert yourself. And then we follow up in the 2010 title run when he went up against that upstart OKC Thunder, in which they featured 3 future MVPs and also 3 top 75 guys on that team. And then he also goes up against the vaunted Boston Celtics, which I've said to this day, I think they're one of the greatest defensive teams ever assembled. When you see they had Rajon Rondo, Tony Allen, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, Kendrick Perkins. I mean, the list goes on. And for him to be down 3-2 in that series, and granted, everybody says he didn't shoot well. I'm not getting away from that. He was able to do every other things. What is your 90%? It's the hustling, it's the rebounding, the boxing out, playmaking, crashing the boards. And he still ended up leading his team in points scored in that game 7, even though he shot bad from the field and taking down a team that featured 3 top 75 players. I feel like that was his greatest run, and that's my case for Kobe.
Awesome. That was a great debate. I thought a lot of that mute button, I forgot what it was on a Sunday. But I muted myself right there. Anyway, no, I thought that was a great debate. I think both of you guys had a lot of great points. And it's something that needs to be had. I actually was talking to Scap Attack, and just to do some foreshadowing, we already have a topic for this week, but he was talking to me about the real discussion isn't who's the GOAT, it's who's second. And this is something that we've been you guys have talked about, and both of you guys have these guys number 2 on your list. But I want to say both of you guys, I think, did a tremendous job arguing your points. Hoop God, how do you think you did in the debate?
I think I did fairly well. When you had told me that we were having this discussion, I was like, damn, it's like 2 of my top guys. But I'm like, okay, you know what? Hey, I got to bring it to the table and hey, live with the results. So I think for the most part, I got everything out. I mean, that I wanted to, because there's like a plethora of information that I also could include it, but I wanted to make sure I'm like, okay, let me hit the main points that I feel like would, ultimately hold weight in this discussion.
Yeah, I found it interesting. We didn't really get into stats very much, which I think that's honestly, like, I think that's what people want to hear. Like, the stats are fun when you throw them in there to kind of back up a point and stuff, but I think it's fun to hear, like, philosophically, where do people stand on a certain ranking or something like that.
Yeah, no, Nick, I agree. I mean, that's the thing. Like, yeah, we could sit here and talk stats, but I know you and I are on the same wavelength. It's like, okay, well, I can't be disingenuous because I know Larry Bird played in a ball movement, player movement system where he didn't get a lot of opportunities to like go ISO, even though he could at times. But again, he was more team oriented. He wanted to move the ball, play make. If he could get Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish easier shots. Like, I've talked to guys when they say, oh, well, he was a merchant of Kevin McHale. I'm like, wait, time out. Who do you think benefited more, Kevin McHale off Larry Bird's gravity or the other way around? Like, come on, use your common sense. Then I would look at Kobe, where he's playing with great front court production. When you have a Pau Gasol, you have a Shaquille O'Neal, it's like, why on earth would you be expecting Kobe to be driving the lane when you have a guy down there who you can dump the ball to, and that can actually preserve your energy and play more team basketball, So, yeah, just getting into the stats. I mean, yeah, we could, but it's like, okay, we got to look at the system Bird's playing in versus the system Kobe's playing in, to a certain extent.
Hey, fellas.
How you doing, Buki Allen?
Hey, long time no here. I got both of them 2 in my top 5 too.
Salute.
Hey, who?
Yeah, I had Bird 2. He had Bird 4, and then we switched it.
Yeah.
How do you think the debate went? If you had to say from the outside looking in, and for everyone that's watching right now, I'm going to be dropping a post on my community
I
page
got it as a
asking who you
tie.
thought won.
I got it's a tie right now because they both make some valid points.
Yeah,
But I think Bird the greatest small forward ever.
Oh yeah, hey bro, yeah,
No
no
question.
doubt, greatest small forward ever. Like that's not even an argument.
yeah. Anyone who doesn't have Bird in their top 10, I just immediately dismiss it.
Because everybody keeps saying LeBron and Kevin Durant better than him. No, they not. Neither one
Hey,
of them.
hey, bro, hey, stay tuned because I got an edit coming up. And shout out to Gilbert Arenas, but I would say he indicted himself because I believe Sports and Fitness Rants had brought up Larry Bird, and Gil tried to smirk it off like he ain't better than Kevin Durant or Larry Bird. I mean, or LeBron. And I'm like, wait, Gil, I heard you on Vlad TV. Like, you systematically broke down how Larry Bird was a better player than LeBron. So I said, you know what? No, I think I'm gonna just make a clip just to be like, hey, Gil, don't forget what you said. Now we were paying attention, buddy.
He said he backtracked on a lot of stuff because he said he said Jokic was the worst MVP in 40 years, and then he turned around and said he was the worst 3-time MVP. Which one is it, sir?
Yeah.
He
Yeah, remember
backtracked on
because he
that.
goes, he's the worst 3-time MVP ever, and I'm like, okay, that's like 6 people, and they're all-time greats. Like, it's not a point. That's not like that doesn't mean what you think it means.
You know what killed me with that too is that he said I didn't want to include Moses Malone as if Moses Malone was garbage.
Moses Malone, one of the most underrated players ever.
I
Yeah.
mean, the
Yeah.
He's
man's
probably the most
name-
underrated superstar I think probably ever. when I get
Moses'
his thought.
name is the chairman of the board. I mean, come on, like what?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's something I think I might do a show with Rex about is Moses in the future. But yeah, no, massively underrated. What are you saying?
I said the reason I say Bird the greatest small forward because he can play in the system and still get you like 5 or 6 assists without even dominating the ball. Like,
And playing with a great point guard like DJ, because I want to say DJ still averaged like about 5 or 6 assists per game with Bird.
yeah, and he played with Nate Archibald before DJ.
Yeah, Tiny, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and one thing I forgot to mention, like Bird could play big or small. Like I mean, like in terms of like what a small forward kind of is, that in between 3-man,
Yeah.
Like yeah, I can't think of anyone better to play it. Like what that position is, I can't think of anyone better to play it.
I got to come on here next time. FYI, on here. He think he's slick. He keep trying
Hey,
to.
you called it too, didn't you?
He keeps saying Scottie Pippen deserved to be in top 10 consideration. That's a joke.
Yeah,
That's a joke.
Pip ain't no top 10. Nah. He know that, man. He know that. I don't even know why he trying to put that out there. Like, bro, Scotty is great, but stop.
I think you also said like he's like easily a top 25 or something like that too.
I remember one time he was on Player's Choice one time, and everybody laughed at him because he said he is great. Scotty was greater than Hakeem Olajuwon.
Oh man, please. Hey, matter of fact, I'm glad you mentioned that because me and him supposed to be having a dialogue. We got to further our convo about Hakeem because he kind of brought that to the table, but I didn't want to take over the live or whatnot. So whenever me and him link back up, yeah, we're gonna finish that, and I'll send you the link so you can tune in.
Yeah, and I also got him to commit to maybe you guys agree or don't, but he said that all championships are weighted the same. That's my new angle on him, is to get him to back off of that. That's a horrible take.
Wait. Oh, go ahead.
So real fast, I want to say that in respect to does a championship equal a championship? I say yes. Now, if you say that I do think that the stories when you talk about them and you like, let's say there's 6 championships versus 6 championships. When you go into explain,
I value
you're cutting out a little bit. I think you have your gate on too low or something like that. Like if you start to get too loud, it's bringing it down. You start to cut out.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I'll stop yelling.
I'll
stop yelling in the microphone. No.
I like the old fashioned way, the way the guys before us did it, like the Michaels, the Birds, the Magics, the Tim Duncans, the Kobe. when you got drafted by a team and you let the GM put the team around you to win the championship.
Yep.
Not collude and call each other up and say, I want to play with this guy. I want to play with this guy. I don't.
Yep. That's a
like
part
that.
of my criteria. If you have to leave your team, you can't be in my top 5. I'm sorry.
Well, that's what I want to say with in respect to it is that I do think that championship, I think that the bubble championship should be considered a championship. Do I think it's one of in story wise and how it came to be and all of that? Do I think it's one of the worst? Absolutely. But I can't I won't. Now, I know some of y'all disagree, but I won't say that it doesn't count. But
Oh,
do I
no.
think
I'm not saying that. It's like
some
a
people
ring
do
is a
though?
ring, right? A ring is a ring.
Yeah.
I'm not. There's no doubt about that. But like my example, right, is if Durant's won 2, right? If you take either one of his rings just on their own, and I'm gonna be a little biased here, but I think the example stands, right? If you compare either one of his to Dirk's one, and you try to tell me that one of those ones that Durant won is more impressive or means as much or was the same as the one Dirk won against, like what he did versus what Durant did to win one, that's where I'm saying there's no way it's like every championship is weighted the same. There's just no way.
See,
Yeah, I think
like a Giannis or Jokic, how they won their titles.
but I think that what you're talking about, Nick, is categorized into what you brought up in your argument as the mythos or the mystique. I think you don't take that away from the championship one. I think you put it into the story and the legacy. And but I agree that there's differences, but like I wouldn't say that 2 championships is less impressive than one. I would say that the one championship was more impressive than either of the 2. That's how I look at it. And y'all have your own opinions, but that's how I look at it.
Got a question for all of y'all, real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Whose championship holds more weight when I say the amount of responsibility on this player versus this player? Kawhi Leonard or Clyde Drexler? And I'm talking about Kawhi Leonard and when he went to the Raptors.
Say it one more time. Sorry.
Yeah, Kawhi was more of the front of that team versus
he was the alpha. He was the clear number 1.
Yeah. Now the reason I'm saying that, they both went to different teams. But Clyde, I want to say, well, I think Clyde did get traded. So him and Kawhi both got traded, right? But we know that Clyde was like the second fiddle in command to Hakeem, where Kawhi went to a team and he was the leader. And to me, that's one of the greatest like playoff runs of all time, like going up against Joel Embiid, Giannis, and then defeating the Golden State Warriors. Granted, Kevin Durant was injured, but nobody says anything about Isaiah Thomas being injured in 1988. So that's just me. Because I would never put Clyde's ring up there with Kawhi. I just wanted to say that.
And like the next layer to that is that, usually when we're talking rings, we are talking legacy, right? We're talking legacy defining achievements, right? And so I guess I look at someone like Durant and how he joined the Warriors, and it could be argued that hurt his legacy more than it helped in a way. Like, again, I understand at the end of the day, a ring is a ring is a ring. I get that. But in terms of like changing the dynamic or the trajectory of his legacy, I'm not sure. Maybe with some people, yes, but a lot of people say no, or they just say like, I mean, do those even really count? I mean, you're the only remember since '84. I brought this stat up. Since '84, the only 3 times a team has been a negative return on money if you bet on them in the preseason were the Durant era Warriors. Right? They were just, it's like, did you really prove anything to us? Right? I'm not sure.
Just like LeBron, like people can say they can kill. I get on Kevin Durant for doing that, but people act like LeBron didn't do it either. I'm like, LeBron joined LeBron joined two top 5 picks from his same draft class in their prime. Like, we never seen nothing like that before. That's like a equivalent of Michael Jordan joining Hakeem Olajuwon and Charles Barkley.
Yeah,
he couldn't win.
The previous season, LeBron was first in player efficiency rating. D Wade was second. Kevin Durant was third. Chris Bosh was fourth. This is the prior season before they joined. Now, in that same season, LeBron led the league in scoring. Dwayne Wade was third. Chris Bosh was ninth. points per game throughout the entire league. I've never seen a team that top heavy collude to come together. Like, I've never seen it. And they want to pretend like that. Like, no, that's like an over-the-top super team. And then you add Ray Allen the next season, who's
Did you see the interview who got?
which one?
The one with Dwayne Wade said they was trying to get Chris Bosh after they lost in 2011.
Well,
they tried to meet Chris Paul. They tried to get Chris
oh,
Paul.
yeah.
They tried to add Chris Paul with a big three.
I'm like, wait a minute. You got your draft class already on the same team, and then you go get the greatest shooter of all time before Steph Curry breaks the record. Like, you're supposed to have 5 or 6 championships.
Yeah. They didn't even three-peat with that team. I think they underachieved. You ask me.
Well, yeah. Remember, he said not 5, not 6, not 7. You only delivered 2.
Yeah, I think that's why I got Kobe. Kobe went to 3 straight, back to back player, and he had Dwayne Wade, a top 75 player, and another Hall of Famer and Bosh on your team. You only back-to-back titles.
So remember,
real fast, because we were talking about this stuff a little bit, and you guys have brought up LeBron. How would you say, if you were a LeBron fan, that LeBron was greater than Larry Bird? Nick, if you want to start first.
How would I argue that? I mean, obviously the longevity. This is why it's kind of, I hate the longevity argument. You could just say he's played longer, but in my mind, he's not a better passer. He's not a better rebounder. In terms of scoring, right? Like, there's no way you could say LeBron has the same kind of bag that Larry had in terms of a skill set and scoring the ball. You know, his athleticism is obviously a big advantage, you know, but that's kind of the only thing LeBron has on most people, to be honest. So you probably have to go. The one thing that I guess you could say about LeBron is, like, going to 3 organizations and winning 3 rings or 3 championships for each of them. 4 total, but winning at least 1 at each place, right? Like, that's kind of, you know, if you want to say that's an impressive feat, that's an impressive feat. I know he had the finals where he led his team in all 5 categories or whatever. Like, that was, you know, that's impressive. But it's kind of hard. Again, it's mainly just the longevity and just a total output of numbers, right? That is really all LeBron kind of has over people. In terms of someone like Larry, who's got 3 rings, got 3 MVPs, right? He's got the hardware to kind of go toe-to-toe with LeBron. And so I think if you're looking for the X factor, it'd be just the longevity and output of numbers that LeBron has had. But again, Larry, you know, I kind of made a joke, unfortunately, helping build his mom's driveway and fucking hurt his back. And that's when it all started, right? That's unfortunate. But that have to be the main angle you go at, is just statistical totals.
I love Bird 88 season when he averaged like 29, 9, and like 7, almost 7 on 50, 40, 90. That was that year was nice.
Buki, how would you argue it? How would you argue that LeBron's greater than Bird?
I don't think he's a better basketball player. I just think he's a better athlete, but as a pure basketball player, he's not. He's not a better basketball player than Larry. Larry can beat you from the mid-range, the post, the 3, free throws, can play off the ball, pass with either hand, rebound. They say LeBron a better defender. I say they about even. I think Bird gave a little bit more effort on his team defensively. I think he's a better team defender. To get LeBron he's a better athlete, but as far as a complete basketball player, no. I don't see it. LeBron has a lot of flaws. Out of 21 years, he still hasn't shot over 80% from the free throw line, and teams still go on the screens and let him shoot jump shots to this day. I don't think he ever worked on his game and got better. I think he's still the same player, you ask me.
What about you, Hoop God? If you were a LeBron fan, how would you argue that he's greater than Larry Bird?
Well, of course, like these other two gentlemen said, the athleticism. I mean, that's unquestioned. But again, we know basketball is a skills game, which that's going to always trump the athleticism. But being a one-on-one defender at his prime, well, from what 2009 to I think 14 or 13, somewhere in there, I'll give him that. Of course, driving to the lane, which that's his mo. He's better than that at Bird, although I don't. Bird, his type of skill set isn't predicated off driving, but I mean, for the sake of the conversation, I could give LeBron that. I would say in transition, he's probably better in the open court than Bird, but it wouldn't be by a large margin. So longevity, transition, offense, driving to the goal, and yeah, being more athletic. I mean, because outside of that, there aren't many other categories that I can say he's better because he's not more efficient than Bird. He's not a better shooter than Bird. He averages more points per game, but that doesn't necessarily make you a better scorer because his usage rate is higher and he shoots the ball more. So if we would have to break it down like using the per 36 stat, it would be very close. So one-on-one defense, athleticism, transition, driving to the goal, yeah. I would give LeBron the edge in those categories.
If I was a LeBron fan, I would say that Bronny getting drafted to the Lakers makes LeBron the GOAT. I would say the 2016 Warriors, the greatest team of all time, that they pretend Kevin Durant was on. That made him the GOAT, as he said himself. And the 40,000 plus points made him the GOAT. Anyway, yeah.
What's another narrative too that everybody tried to make it seem like this the Kevin Durant Warriors was just so unbeatable. I'm like, no, they wasn't.
No, they weren't.
I'm like, Kawhi had him. The Spurs had him down 20 in the Western Conference Finals.
No, 25. Had him down by 25.
They couldn't stop Kawhi Leonard before he got hurt. So this notion that they was unbeatable is they just say that because LeBron got beat by them. They weren't unbeatable. It's a lot of teams in the past that I think that could have beat them. There is not just this unbelievable obstacle like everybody say.
I got a question for y'all. What would be more impressive? Leading your team in just one series. I mean, it's the finals, but that's one series in all 5 major statistical categories. Although you're leading them in turnovers and missed shots, or leading the entire playoffs, or not leading, but in the entire playoffs, you average 50, 40, 90 shooting splits, and then you record the game 6 victory or whatever, a finals clincher, my bad. In a finals clincher, you record a triple-double, but yet your shooting splits for the entire playoffs are 50, 40, 90. Which one of those two would be more impressive?
Real fast, after this question, after we go around the horn, I'm going to wrap this up. So,
yeah, obviously for the entire playoffs, the 50, 40, 90s, just bigger body of work.
Yeah, I say 50, 40, 90 splits.
Plus more rebounds, more assists.
And you said you said that you won the championship versus you didn't?
No. They both won. But I want to know what was more impressive. Like one going 50, 40, 90 for the whole playoffs, and in the game clincher, you record a triple-double, winning that series, or just, averaging you're leading in all of 5 major categories just for the finals, like which one of those two?
Just for the finals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, I know who we're talking about here, but I don't know, man. That's a tough one because they're both impressive in their own.
I mean, that is give it to LeBron. Like that's impressive, right? Like Michael's come very close to doing it. There's something I found where they looked at playoff series and what players had the highest contribution, looking at the 5 categories, right? And essentially, it's I think it was like 12 of them. LeBron's like on there like 6 to 8 times. Michael's on there a couple times. and I think KG and Akeem are on there like once each or something like that. But essentially, Michael and LeBron are like the only guys who've ever even come close to kind of leading their team in all categories, considering they almost did it several times too.
Absolutely. But yeah, we're gonna start shutting this thing down. Hoop God, you have any last words you want to say to the people?
Man, hey, subscribe to all these gentlemen on here, man. Great basketball talk, great basketball content. Like Sports and Fitness Rant said, we're here to set the record straight. And like I always say, it's imperative that we destroy these narratives out here. So
keep up the good work. I enjoy you guys. Oh yeah, Sports and Fitness Rant. Y'all gonna be on this Sunday?
Yep, we're gonna be talking about how did LeBron pass Kobe in the GOAT conversation amongst some.
I'm definitely coming on there.
Oh yeah, that's one of Scap's favorite talking points. Yeah, and he's right.
Kobe,
I think.
Yeah, Kobe, my favorite player of all time, but Jordan was a better player.
Yep. Nick, you got anything to say?
No, I enjoyed it, man. I anytime I get to talk Larry Bird, I'm down for it. So I enjoyed it as always. I'll see you guys on Sunday.
Hey, who is Scap Attack going against in this?
But it's an open discussion.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's not debating anybody. It's an open discussion.
Gil kind of randomly, showed up. We didn't even know Gil was coming. Like, yeah, that was just done by random.
Hey, I seen him on there. The thing I ain't like about it, he gonna say you got it. If Jordan the GOAT, and you saying people got to be great offensively and defensively, Kobe was better than LeBron on offense and defense. So how is he second? That doesn't add up, bro.
That's what I asked him. That's what you said. I literally asked him that. I asked him to like verify this. But Gil is my guy, You just got to be able to, pinpoint when he trolling a little bit.
All right then, fellas. Catch up with y'all. See y'all Sunday.
Yep. I want to thank the live chat for all the discussion, for watching and supporting us and all of that. Check us out on Sunday. And as said before, check out NMB Sports at NMB Sports, and then check out Hoop God's YouTube channel at DeJuan Sanders. He's also got a TikTok channel. I believe Nick does too, but I don't know. I'm so behind the
all
times.
over the place. Try to, yeah.
I'm so behind the times. I just hang out on YouTube.
I'd like some more Twitter followers, man, so we could maybe post more and be a little more edgy on Twitter and say some funny stuff, but we'll see.
For sure.
Yeah. But I hope you all have a great weekend. We'll see them, or we'll see all of you if you come on the Sunday live stream then. And Michael Jordan.